What do Amber from Invincible, Rhaenys from House of the Dragon, and Kylo Ren all have in common? All of them had enormous potential but were sacrificed by the writers for the sake of subverting expectations. In this video, I want to analyze these characters as examples of this writing trend, and in doing so, explore why this has become so prevalent in the first place. So without further ado, let's start with Amber is one of the most disliked characters in modern media, which is low-key impressive when you're competing against the Star Wars sequels and The Last of Us Part 2. But unlike Rey or Abby, actual main characters, in the grand scheme of Invincible's story, Amber is really just a side character, which in my opinion is proof of just how destructive this trend of subversion at any cost really is. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Amber is Mark Grayson, or otherwise known as Invincible's, main love interest throughout season 1 of the show. Their relationship quickly falls under strain due to Mark's constant needing to lie to Amber in order to hide his secret identity. Amber gets increasingly frustrated about Mark always being late, as well as his lame excuses, and at this point, most of you probably assume you know where this is going. Mark trusts her with his identity, she understands why he was late all the time, and it ends happily ever after. What's that? She already knew he was a superhero? Oh no. So let me be clear. This story is one you've seen a dozen times. It's kind of tired, a little cliche, so it makes sense to me why the writers wanted to mix things up. But if there's one piece of writing advice I want you to take from this video, it's this. Subverting expectations is not bad, but your story should never bend over backwards to do so. All it takes is a surface level analysis of the Amber Mark storyline to understand why typically superhero reveals don't go this way. If Amber knew Mark was invincible, why did she get angry all those times he was late? Like, she does understand that he was busy saving lives, correct? Or what about the campus episode where she gets pissed at him for going missing during a supervillain attack? Is she stupid? Mark's a better man than me, cause I would have been petty with it. Next time we're hanging out and cyborgs attack, I'm gonna keep my civilian clothes on and just stare at her like this. Also, how entitled do you have to be to think you are owed someone's secret identity? He works for the government fighting super terrorists. Obviously there's an NDA on that shit. Not to mention, knowing about the identity just puts you in danger, like we see happen in season 2. But what really grinds my gears about Amber and this twist is the hypocrisy of it all. She gets mad at Mark for lying even though she might as well be an Oscar-nominated actress. Amber comes off as so stuck up, so condescending, so self-righteous that the writers didn't even realize she's the one who looks immature in their relationship. A mature person in Amber's place would have confronted Mark, spoke with him on keeping secrets, and communicated why she finds that behavior problematic. Amber's plan was to guilt-trip Mark while pretending not to understand where he was coming from. Wild. By forcing this subversion down the throats of the audience, the writers not only killed Amber as a character, but just created an awkward situation where they were forced to walk back all their choices in season 2. They made her a completely different person, which isn't really satisfying, even as an Amber hater. It's just really sad. They always write out the black girl, man. What hasn't been said about Game of Thrones at this point? A show that took over pop culture for almost a whole decade, only to trip at the finish line and torpedo its legacy worse than Kanye.
Shut the fuck up.
However, I actually don't think that narrative is fully accurate. Game of Thrones did not trip at the finish line, it fell way fucking earlier. Need I remind you that this scene...
You want a good girl, but you need a bad pussy.
...is in season 5 of the show. But you know what? Morbid curiosity is a powerful motivator, because despite the show having been bad for 3 seasons straight, I had to watch season 8, had to. I needed to know what would happen to all of my once favorite characters. Fast forward 3 weeks and here we are, the long night. And while the night may be full of terrors, I can't see any of them. In case it's been a while or you're unfamiliar, this footage isn't edited. This is the final product of HBO and one of the largest budgets ever put to television. And honestly, while there are half a dozen instances of the writers ruining their show in an attempt to be subversive, there is one that probably comes to everyone's mind. It's just so ass. For those who aren't in the know, the Night King is an ancient snow zombie or maybe like a deity of some kind. It got really unclear there by the end. Writers really said here, take some symbolism, and left us with that. But the important part is that he is the main villain of the entire series, what the whole thing has been building up to. Throughout all 8 seasons, despite however evil conniving nobles and deranged pirate lords were, the Night King existed as the ultimate antagonist, a looming presence that would snuff out all life unless everyone could stop their squabbling and work together to defeat him. But that doesn't happen. The army of the dead, well, if the lighting is good enough to see them, they are easily handled by straight up non-combatants, or just used to kill the characters the showrunners didn't really know what to do with anymore. And poor Bran. For 3 seasons straight, Bran has been a machine that takes clumsy exposition and turns it into cryptic nonsense. Half the time, the nonsense is contradictory.
I can never be Lord of Winterfell. I can never be Lord of anything. Why do you think I came all this way?
So that was a fucking lie.
And look, I'm not saying season 8 would have been saved if Jon or Dany killed the Night King. This shit was cooked for some time. But at least you could pretend the series-long arc has some satisfying narrative conclusion. You could pretend like it was competently written, or look back and say, I get what they were going for. Having Arya, Dan and Dave's favorite little princess, kill the Night King is like if Luna Lovegood sniped Voldemort in the Battle of Hogwarts. Just look at the cast read this episode and watch as they go through the stages of grief in rapid succession. I remember going to school at the start of season 8 and other kids still telling me how wrong I was, that Game of Thrones was awesome and how it had only improved since the earlier seasons. But this episode somehow managed to snap the entire world out of its collective genjutsu. And what do you know? Those same kids were trashing on the whole show the following week. And I'm not sure where else to put this, but I just want to say the writers squeezing in a last-minute sex scene between Arya and Gendry is weird AF. Now, yes, I'm fully aware that Maisie Williams, the actress for Arya, was an adult here, but I don't know, man. Something about the combination of how clearly Dan and Dave have favoritism for Arya, plus the fact that they've been working with her since she looked like this? I'd give other directors the benefit of the doubt, but these are the same guys with a record of creeping on actresses. Not to mention having Sansa say she was thankful for the level up being raped by Ramsay gave her, like, nah, this is the writer's barely disguised fetish, prove me wrong. I just wish I could say that House of the Dragon improves on these writing flaws, but no. In fact, I find this arguably worse. Okay. Rhaenys killing a bunch of peasants in order to aura farm on Aegon admittedly isn't quite as bad as Arya and the Night King, but it is a hell of a lot more insulting somehow. I get why Dan and Dave wanted to shock audiences with the Night King's death. They performed the screenwriting equivalent of stepping on a rake, but I get it. In the case of Rhaenys though, you aren't really subverting anything. This isn't even a twist, it's just unexpected. There's a difference. As the writers are so proud to admit, they did it purely for the sake of spectacle.
We needed a penultimate scene.
I know this sounds so pretentious, but I legitimately believe they should feel ashamed. What's next? Some Minecraft parkour on the right side of the screen to keep me engaged? I already have an entire video talking about how poorly written House of the Dragon story is, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But the idea that such a tightly woven story, such a complex narrative full of intrigue and depth, was turned into a good versus evil tale in which the writers dangle random dragons in front of us like a set of keys, it's ludicrous how stupid Hollywood thinks you are. Speaking of Hollywood, remember for a little while where every Disney antagonist had to be a twist villain? I think that was probably an overreaction to the critique that Disney villains were overly simplistic and evil for the sake of being evil. Hollywood kind of did the same thing, except instead of twist villains, they just started giving every bad guy anime villain levels of tragic backstory. Ironically enough, now everyone's complaining about morally gray antagonists, but he can't make everyone happy. Where was I again? Oh, right. So, while twist villains like Hans have gotten their fair share of flack, I don't think they can even hope to compare to the ultimate twist villain, J.J. Abrams, Palpatine. Alright, now hear me out. I know Star Wars fans are, of course, known for being very, loving and open and sane individuals.
Flash, you fucking moron!
But if there's one thing I've learned in my time on the internet, it's that you don't fuck with Star Wars fans. Those motherfuckers only like 2 of their own movies. So I promise you this is not rage bait when I say The Last Jedi is an okay movie. Wow. Oh my god. Wow. He's so brave. Thank you, I know. But actually, is that even a controversial opinion anymore? It's been almost 10 years and yeah, I guess it is. Here's the thing, all of these movies are deeply flawed, and although there are a few twists that probably stand out as head scratchers,
I'm the spy.
I doubt anyone watching immediately jumped to the conclusion that misused subversion is what doomed this trilogy. But think about it. It's well known Disney barely had a plan when plotting out the sequel trilogy, which is wild, by the way. That's like spending your entire savings on a new car and then immediately proceeding to Tokyo drift it off the nearest overpass on the way home. No, instead, they left the first movie, the groundwork, the foundation for the future of Star Wars, in the hands of J.J. Abrams. And look, J.J. is a fine director. He's even helmed a few movies I really like. Oh, actually, no he hasn't. Well, anyway, comprising JJ's writing style is unironically one of the worst pieces of screenwriting advice I have ever heard, that being his mystery box approach. As JJ would famously discuss during a TED Talk when he was a kid, he purchased a magic mystery box where half the fun was wondering what was inside it before you opened it. And he never did. For as long as the box stays closed, it could hold anything the imagination can muster. It is this sense of intrigue that proliferates JJ's writing. He places as many mystery boxes as he can fit in the script. And well, now it all kind of makes sense why The Force Awakens is the way that it is. Who are Rey's parents? Mystery box. Who is Snoke? Mystery box. And you can really just keep doing that. The point of the mystery is to be subversive to your expectations of what a Star Wars sequel might look like. It isn't to offer satisfying revelations, but to be unanswerable. Are you starting to get why I don't think The Last Jedi is all that bad? Pretty much every major criticism regarding the film can be explained as how else could Rian Johnson try to make sense of JJ's mysteries? Take Luke, for example. How would you explain why Luke allowed the First Order to commit super galactic genocide, kill his best friend, and undo everything he worked to achieve in the originals? People say The Last Jedi doesn't feel like Star Wars, and I would tend to agree with them. It's a pretty big departure from what came before, so I get being turned off by that. But for the most part, all of those subversions, all of those twists people hated in The Last Jedi were forced moves Rian had to make in order to escape the damn mystery box. But of course, people didn't like it, so instead we got this piece of shit. Rise of Skywalker is the coalescence of everything I've talked about so far. It is the end result of what happens when you build the foundation of your story on the premise of unpredictability. Just like Amber and Rhaenys, who had to have their short-sighted twists walked back in the following seasons of their show, so too does Rise of Skywalker revert everything that came before it. Kylo concludes The Last Jedi deciding that the old ways have failed him, that he will be neither Sith nor Jedi, but instead forge a new blazing path neither side was wise enough to glimpse. But this, despite being a very interesting idea, doesn't matter. None of what these movies try to set up matters, because it is all undone in the final film once JJ is forced to at last answer the mysteries that he set up. But just like the box he got as a kid, What actually lies inside each and every mystery box JJ wrote is disappointment.
Ray Skywalker.
Thank you for watching. God bless, and have a wonderful night.